Being a vessel, the knight has no voice and cannot speak. Throughout the game, however, the knight does interact with multiple characters in different ways. If they're not doing it verbally, how do they communicate? In this video, I'll be listing off my guesses for each situation in which the knight interacts with another character in the game. One way of communication that we directly observe in the game is the knight challenging opponents. They do so by facing whom they wish to challenge and showing off their nail. This seems to clearly communicate a wish to fight, as the Mantis Lords and the Radiants, the bosses that the knight can challenge this way outside of Godhome, respond by initiating combat. The most common interaction that the knight has with other characters is simply listening to them speak. When doing so, they look up at whoever they're listening to. The action of simply looking up is probably enough to communicate to the other character that the knight wishes to hear what they have to say, and that gesture is what they're responding to when they speak to the knight. The knight also buys items from vendors at shops. The vendor may lay out their items in front of them for the knight to point at, but since each item is displayed with its price, the items are most likely listed on some sort of poster for the knight to point at the individual items on. The text listed next to the item is probably what the vendor says when the knight points to an item or they notice the knight inspecting it. The vendor likely then asks the knight if they want to actually purchase the item, and the knight can nod or shake their head to respond with yes or no. As for Cornifer selling his maps, he most likely tells the knight his price for each map. The knight can also sell relics to Relic Seeker Lem. They probably do so by removing the item from their inventory and placing it on the counter in front of Lem. Instead of asking the knight if they want to buy an item, he instead asks if they want to sell it, and the knight could once again nod or shake their head. He would know that the knight doesn't have anything more to sell him because they simply stop giving him items. The knight can also indicate to the stag which stag station they want to travel to. A map of the stagways and stations is always displayed when the knight is about to travel them, and the knight most likely knows which station on the map is which and points to whichever one they want to be taken to. One fan interpretation is that the knight communicates using sign language. I personally like this idea very much. Since Team Cherry hails from Australia, any sign language that would have been featured in the game would most likely be Australian Sign Language or Auslan. In-universe, however, Hallownest likely has its own sign language, just as it has its own spoken language. As any society should be, all of its citizens would be just as well versed in the sign language as the spoken language and could understand the knight without any trouble. So what do you think? How do you believe the knight communicates with other characters? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. Please consider subscribing to my channel and clicking the bell so you won't miss an upload. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.